I want to welcome everybody to the daily cheat sheet. Uh, God, that mustache is killing me, man. And for those that want to see Men's mustache, please go to Rumble or YouTube, and you can check out how the stash is coming out. I really thought you were doing it for November because that isn't.
It could you could call it whatever you want. It could be Movember. It could be a welcome committee for the Nick Fuentes former followers who have seen the light and come over to the right side. It could also be Brad Pitt in Inglorious Bastards, and I'm hunting Nazis. Hunting
That's
Nazis. We're
so
gonna
that's a
get
good one.
some
So subscribe
Nazis.
everywhere and Golan. We still miss you, of course. God willing, you'll be back with us next week as you are recuperating. So please follow us everywhere. And Mend, you bring up an interesting thing as you're bringing up Nick Fuentes. And it's really important to talk about this, but if you go on YouTube and you watch whether it's Pierce Morgan or any of these people, they cycle the same guests through. They all have the same guests on. I'm referring to Tucker Carlson it's like they're cave dwelling, they're sewer diving, dumpster diving, I should say, with the same guests over and over, man. And it's very hard to gauge what is what. It's very hard to gauge the real numbers of who of how many of there are out there.
They do recycle the same guests. I mean, Pierce Morgan is basically what was that mayor from Chicago who had a show?
Who's not from Chicago, from Cincinnati, Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Pierce Morgan tapped into the Jerry Springer of Twitter, YouTube shows where he just brings on crazies and lets them fight.
No,
If
but
you're
I'm
actually
saying if you look at Patrick Bet-David, they all he had Nick Fuentes on. It's like they
Patrick
all go.
Bet-David had Nick Fuentes on,
That's
but
what
he
I'm saying.
wasn't. It was a different interview than the one that Tucker did. It was very different. Patrick Bet-David was actually trying to convince Nick Fuentes to stop being a hate monger and go back to just, or go to being a influence for the right things, an influencer without being a hate monger. I listened to that interview, and that's what Patrick was doing. He was like, let me understand where you're coming from, and then let me also give you some advice as I would for my own son. You could do something. You're obviously very talented. You could do something positive. Nick Fuentes hasn't taken him up on that.
Right, but and I agree, it wasn't a terrible interview. My point, though, again, being is it's this cycle, right? They're all using the same guest, so it's really impossible to gauge. All I know is anytime if I put Tucker in the name of a title, it goes viral and ends up getting like 1,000 things of hate mail where everybody's saying, "Hey, you get your $7,000 check yet?" And yeah.
I heard a guy named Matt Tardio. He's a former special forces guy that has a podcast called Speak the Truth. And he said he would never have Nick Fuentes on. He goes, why would I have a racist anti-Semite on my show? I just wouldn't do it. And then he played some clips of things that Nick Fuentes has said. And, praising Hitler, maybe singing a Kanye song, maybe just straight up praising Hitler. And I respect him for that. I respect Matt Tardio for
I
refusing to
respect
have a
Charlie
guy like that on
Kirk
a
for
show.
doing the same thing. It's 100% the correct thing. I think. Listen, I just found it interesting.
It's funny. They're actually smearing Erica Kirk now.
Well, they
They're
were doing that. Nick Fuentes did that
no. Nick
instantly.
Fuentes did that for a long time, but now you're seeing a lot of people on the right doing it where they are claiming that she's in some sort of Zionist cabal and all kinds of other nonsense. And this is a grieving widow. Whether you like the way she's grieving or not, the fact remains that the father of her children and the person that she married, her husband, was assassinated in front of them. I don't think you get to decide how someone grieves.
I was just
Everybody
about to
grieves.
say that. I was just
Everybody
about to
grieves in
say that.
different ways, and you don't get to decide whether or not she's grieving appropriately or if she's, they want to say she's taking advantage of it. But how do you take advantage of that? There is no taking advantage. There's nothing in this world that you could possibly do after losing your spouse and the father to your children that you could, grieve wrongly. It's just insane that they're attacking her for that.
No, it's interesting you bring that up. I'm actually very happy you bring that up because there is no right way to grieve. As you know, I worked in the rehab industry for many years, saw some horrific stuff. saw some horrible stuff. And you learn to compartmentalize in some ways, whether that's good or bad. But I don't judge people by how they grieve, and that's a real sickness. And it's this sleuth detective. It's like everybody thinks they're like Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys online. I know I'm not sure you read those books, but everybody thinks they're an amateur. They're Scooby Doo, and you know they're fighting crime online by these crazy assertions. She lost her husband. Let her grieve however she wants.
Yeah, no, I did not read those books. I was reading Dostoevsky and Tolstoy and
Yeah, right.
Blow and all those other good books
Yeah,
back then.
yeah.
I
I don't
spent a
have a
long
hard.
time on Stephen King's It, and I can't believe how far that guy has fallen. Stephen King is off the rails. Like, you talk about a demented Democrat, that's Stephen King. It boggles my mind how far that guy went. He's
Well,
kind of like Uncle Howard, Howard Stern, and he went off the rails. Stephen King and Howard Stern are two poster boys for people that used to have their heads on semi straight. And
no, it's yeah. I want to tell you something, and this is, and I want to just for the most part, I'm not bringing up Howard Stern for this, but for the most part, most writers that are dystopian, as we've brought up on the show, are leftists. It's when you go to whether it's 1984, it's Democrat, whether they're socialist. You look at Stephen King, you look at film directors like John Carpenter, as we've discussed on this show. All of them are leftists. To be dystopian and to have those certain thoughts, your brain has to be off in the first place a little bit. But they all tend to go
you're
to the
saying
left.
Orwell was a leftist?
It's known that he was. Yes, he was. He was.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, the left has become, what he talked about is literally that is who they became with truth speak and memory holding things. I mean, these are all straight out of 1984, where up means down and down means up, and thought police and all that other stuff. I'm a big
yeah.
fan
Just
of
so you
Ayn
know,
Rand. I'm a
just so you know, so we don't have to edit this. George Orwell was a committed socialist throughout his adult life. He described himself specifically as a democratic socialist and a supporter of the British Labour Party. So there you are. And listen, Rod Serling was the same thing from the Twilight Zone. But the difference with Rod Serling is it didn't come out much in his writing. But yes, this is. So I'm sorry to shock you, but almost all the dystopian movies you like or the dystopian books are written by communists or leftists. And had this conversation with people. I've said to them, it's because we go to the movies, we sort of enjoy it as a fantasy, but that's not a reality we want. And when you look at New York, they voted in dystopia. And I feel bad because somebody said to me on True Social, they said, "Can you guys do a podcast where you don't talk about politics?"
That would be great. I would
No,
love
no,
that. I would
and
love that. If
and
these politicians would somehow get their act together and start behaving like the adults in the room. I read an article today about, I forgot which city it was, but the article was about what they did with the OxyContin money that the city got. So there was massive lawsuits against Purdue Pharma. I think it was Purdue Pharma over the
yeah, it was.
OxyContin. It was, right?
Yes.
Over the OxyContin deaths and destruction that company caused throughout the country. And this one city, I think it was in New Jersey, got 600 million. And what they decided to do with it, like, what would you do if your city got $600 million in a pharmaceutical settlement case that had to do with addiction?
I'd invest in mental health. That's what you
You
know I
invest
would.
in mental health. You have programs that go to schools that talk to kids about the pitfalls of addiction. You maybe set up some rehab facilities. You help people get clean. There are things you could do. Not hard to figure out. What this city decided to do was throw concerts and pay country singers and rock and I don't know who was on. They were paying. They blew, I think, $600 million on concerts. So my point being is that you get elected people, you elect people, and some of these people have no idea what they're doing, and they make bad policies which will affect you and your communities. And this example, I read it this morning. I was scratching my head. I'm like, really? Somebody approved
Well,
this?
look at the fire money that was raised in Los Angeles that never got to the victims. They had a
Yeah, well,
concert, right?
that was Newsom and his people. They
Right,
just
right.
gave
But
it
I'm
to.
just using that as an example. You're talking about over $100 million that people never saw. So, this was always what happened years ago when you had, I don't know if you remember, you Live Aid, or originally it was Live Aid. And it was run by a guy named Bob Geldof, and a very successful British musician, and he started it, and he really started taking a lot of hits because the money never really got to the people in Africa that needed it. It would go to the African government, but it would never actually go to the people. And people really started being critical of this. Like, you're trusting the African government to give this money out, and this is a huge problem. It's why you don't donate. Like, you have to be really careful, man, where you donate your funds to
I donate
online.
direct. I donate direct. I give to people that I know that are in need. I don't go through these organizations because 90% of these organizations, 90% of the money given to them goes to the management. So if you're running some sort of charity, you give yourself a $500,000 salary. But the poor kid in Africa, it reminds me of the old Sally Struthers commercials where
Got to
it's like,
feed the
for
children.
29 cents a day, you could feed a kid. Meanwhile, she was morbidly obese around these little kids. Like, obviously she's eating the food. I don't know where the funds went for that thing with Save the Children, Feed the Children, whatever it was, but that woman was eating way more than she should have been. So, and it works that way with all NGOs. They use most of the cash for their operations and salaries, and a tiny little bit, a tiny little bit makes it to the people that they're actually raising the funds for. And there's a lot of these things, a lot of grift, a lot of scams. I see this guy, he's an attorney. I don't want to say his name, but he has an organization, and they raise money all the time on X. He's been sued by a number of other organizations. They have some sort of watch organization. I need your help. Trump needs your help. Trump has nothing to do with this guy. None of the people, they just raise money off of old, gullible patriots who want to help America, and they think that these people help, but they don't. So
You're
you got
actually raising a great point. Can I be? You're actually raising. It's a fantastic point, and I really want people to think about this. There really does need to be government oversight into these committees, whether it's super PACs, whether it's organizations like you're speaking about. Listen, this is a I get it. I get people, they see a message, right? This is why Southern Poverty Law Center did so well for so long, was because the branding of it, that even Ben Stein thought, oh, they're doing good. It's called the Southern Poverty Law Center, not realizing one of the most hateful organizations in the United States. And they're really, you're actually raising a great point, and a really great point. And I think somebody should take that up in the House, is oversight, is investigating organizations that, super PACs, for instance. I would say about 60 to 70% of the money never sees the candidate.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what they do with it, but we should start a super PAC. There was a great interview with two whistleblowers from Amnesty International, and they went on a guy's show. His name is Ask Haviv Anything. He's a journalist named Haviv Retigor, and they went on his show exposing what goes on in these organizations and why the organizations can't be reformed. So this is beyond just someone within the organization doing the wrong thing. These are from the top down. And they were talking about Amnesty International, how their entire internal debate was about how to vilify Israel in this war with Hamas. There was pushback from within the organization, some of the mid-level people, but the people at the top refused to listen to them and absolutely ran with that narrative where they were changing definitions of things and taking the Hamas point of view over any Israeli point of view. So the point being is that there's a lot of these organizations that built up a lot of trust over many years of activist work. And now they're leveraging that for partisan politics or ideological views. So with Israel, it's, they're anti-Israel no matter what. Israel's always wrong, oppressor, and Palestinians, no matter what they do, they're always the oppressed. With Here at home, they skew things because they've become an arm of the Democrat Party. And what needs to be done is kind of like what America First Legal is doing. They're saying, forget the ACLU. The ACLU is not what it used to be. We need an organization that actually fights for Americans, that doesn't fight for one party within America, that fights for all Americans' civil liberty, our civil liberties, our rights. So we need more organizations like America First Legal. I wish America First Legal wasn't their name. I wish it was more like, the American Civil Liberties Organization or something more generic, because I think there's a lot of people that are just adverse to hearing anything America First because they associate it with Trump. Although I love what those guys do. I think it's a fantastic organization.
Hey, listen, I agree with you 100% about the organization. I think obviously they're brilliant. I want to ask you a question, though, on a total side note. I do agree with you. Obviously, I love the work they do. It's, obviously Stephen Miller started with Gene Hamilton, who we've had on, who's a friend. And I think amazing work they do. I want to move on, though, a little bit because you're a workout guy and you really work out at working out. It's a commitment, it's a lifestyle. It's not something I share, but it's something I respect, and it's something
6
I admire.
a.m. every day,
But it's
day
something I
in, day
respect.
out.
Okay, look, relax.
Amped up. I'm
Eh,
all fired up. 6 a.m. We were in there, me and wifey killing it, crushing
Don't
it.
don't don't become too pompous. And so today at the White House, they're obviously Ozempic and all these diet drugs that we have literally zero idea really the long-term consequences of their usage. The drug companies today, I don't know if you saw this, somebody actually passed out where from the pharmaceutical companies, President Trump announced a deal with Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to lower prices usually popular weight loss drugs for Medicare, Medicaid, and American patients who pay with their own money. So I got to ask you this question, and I is should we be? I mean, this is one of those things. I get that people want to lose weight, but is it you gain weight for a lot of reasons, and oftentimes, men, that has nothing to do with that. You're just an overeater. It's psychological reasons. There's many. We were talking about mental health. This is a mental health crisis, obesity, right? And yes, you could fix it with getting a pill or whatever it is, but are you actually really fixing the problem?
You know where they don't have these same problems? Sub-Saharan Africa. They have mental health problems. They have stress. They have everything that we deal with, but they're not obese. Why is that?
No,
It's because the people
but
here are
getting back
fat and
to it though.
lazy and they eat a lot of really, really bad food. That is the bottom line, is that if you eat less, if you consume less calories, I don't care how slow or fast your metabolism is, or how big boned your bones are, or any of these other excuses that I've heard. And I have people that are obese in my own family that struggle with it. And I understand it, but I also know that the one sure cure for this is 80% diet, 20% exercise. If people would watch what they eat a little bit, even with my kids, they want to eat chips every once in a while. They got chips, we have it in the cupboard. They want to eat some potato chips. I'm like, never eat it out of the bag. You're never allowed to eat it out of the bag. You put it in a bowl. And the reason for that is so you learn what portion size is. If you're just eating out of the bag, you're going to sit there until the bag is empty, which a lot of people do. They sit there in front of the TV with a giant tub of Haagen-Dazs and they watch their favorite, reality show on Netflix. And next thing you know, that tub is empty and they've consumed 10 billion calories. So know your portion size. Just working out. We could take Ozempic. I've had people in my family do the gastric bypass surgery, all of that stuff. None of it is a real fix. And the
Yeah, it's a
scary thing with
short term. It's
Ozempic,
a as they say, it's a short term solution for a long term problem.
yeah, my brother did the band at one point, and then he realized that if he drinks a hot soup before he wants to eat a big meal, the hot soup would loosen up the band, and then he could eat 17 steaks. So you go through the surgery, it helps you for a little bit, but now you're on a forced diet as well because half your guts are gone. You have to eat specific things and carry around packets of salt with you because your body can't absorb as much nutrients as it's supposed to. It's not a good fix. And as far as the GLP-1s, these Ozempics and all of that, what they've seen, Dr. Peter Aratia pointed this out, is that naturally when you lose weight, you're losing mostly fat and a little bit of muscle. But with these things, you're losing at least 50% of your muscle. Now, your heart is made out of muscle. If you get sick, they've done studies, and if you get sick and you lay in a hospital bed for 2 weeks, your heart atrophies by 50%. So having your heart muscle atrophy because you're taking a GLP-1, an Ozempic type drug, is terrible for you. We're going to see waves of heart attacks, waves of cardiovascular conditions come on because these people, and I'm not talking about the obese people. If you're morbidly obese, you're going to die anyway. So definitely take this drug. And if that could help you lose a ton of weight and live longer, God bless you. But I'm seeing girls that are not obese and they're going and getting this GLP-1, and then they're wondering why their boobs are down to their kneecaps because it's getting rid of all of the muscle and fat, and you're just turning into a bag. They call it Ozempic face, which is a long face because you're getting that long face because you're losing your muscle mass in your face.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for answering my question finally, which
Detailed
was
answer. I dive in there.
you really did a deep dive, but thank you for finally getting to the point where you said, no, it's not healthy. It's not good. And as a sober person, you always hear about these, new cures, right? There's going to be a pill to stop your alcoholism. There's going to be a pill or this. There really is nothing. Whatever you're feeding and you have an addiction, whatever that spiritual malady, as they call it, is, that's what you have to fill. That's what you have to fix. If you could fix that, then that's how you get help. I listen. I just pray. I do not want to see people die. I don't. I could see them like at this point, man. I could see them having like a snap card for Ozempic. I'm
Well,
not kidding.
spirituality works. If you could do anything that improves your life, and that might be religion, it might be finding your inner peace, it might be finding some way to connect with a higher cause or whatever. Anything you can do. A lot of people have eating disorders that has to do with things that happened to them in their youth, and we turn to food because it's comforting. It feels good in the moment. I love doing this thing where you get on a treadmill and try to burn 1,000 calories. And then you go into a Starbucks and you look at that muffin that's 1,000 calories. And it took you an hour and a half at level 15 on the treadmill to burn that 1,000 calories. And then you look at the muffin and go, it's not worth it. And if you weigh everything against that, there are some things that are worth it. To me, a bar of Snickers frozen, absolutely worth it. I don't eat that every day, but if I'm going to cheat, if I'm going to eat something, it's going to be a good one. It's not going to be some leftover cake at a party that's mediocre. Just not doing that. I look at it and go, it's not worth it.
Okay, well, let's move on a little bit. I'm glad I decided not to talk about politics and talk about
Yeah,
health, and you
I could go
answering
on
my
and on. We should start another show, the workout
That's
show,
but yeah, that's all you.
lifestyle.
That's all you. I want to move on though to something a little bit on the political side, obviously, but this goes to yesterday when I posted about the tariff stuff, I was having discussions with people about it. It was actually quite interesting and fun to have discussions with people and getting their points of view on why about the filibuster, not tariffs, about the filibuster, this and that. And it was actually it was enjoyable. I wasn't getting into fights with people about. I think I get into fights with somebody about the filibuster, but there's some issues, man, and we've discussed it where we can no longer have a conversation. And this is like one of the most heartbreaking things. I don't know if you saw today, Linda Sarsour, who is behind the Mamdani campaign, is literally word by word saying exactly what America only says, right? She's going after APAC and all APAC spot, she's is Arab woman that runs. She's just a horrific human being. And I realize it's like we're in this place where these two fringe groups, and I know we keep on bringing this up, have really directly met, and you cannot have a conversation with them whatsoever. Also, man, it's very interesting. Sorry, but it's very interesting that for years I've gone after Republicans. Right? It's something I've done my whole life, whether it's people, obviously using the term rhino, and I hate certain terms, but going after people that you disagree with, that no longer is allowed either, because it's always, if I do it, I'm doing it because of Israel. There's no other reason. I can't disagree with people on anything, because it always for them thinks it's coming back to Israel. And it's sort of a fascinating thing that for years you could go at I've gone after George Bush, but I can't go after Tucker Carlson. I've gone after Mitch McConnell, but I can't go after Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've gone after so and so, and I can't go after so and so. It's like, what are you like? They become a protected class within a certain movement. It's extremely dangerous.
I talked to some people that I work with today, and they're liberals. And one of them told me that I drank the Kool-Aid. And I said, "What are you talking about?" Like, I called Trump out on his association with Qatar, the country that runs Al Jazeera, that spews out anti-American propaganda on a daily basis. They
That got
worked.
Mamdani elected.
They
That helped.
helped get Mandamni elected. It's the Muslim Brotherhood. There's a whole apparatus in place, funded by Qatar and Turkey to a smaller extent, but it's a Muslim Brotherhood apparatus. And their goal is to take over the world. And they're doing it very successfully in Europe. They've done it in parts of the Middle East. They were not able to take over Egypt. They got ousted. They're not able to take over Jordan. They're not able to take over the UAE and some of
Saudi
those
Arabia.
countries. Saudi Arabia. They're banned there, but they're not banned here. And as Trump is working for this, Middle East peace thing that he's trying to put together, Qatar is a critical linchpin in this entire plan. They speak out of one side of their mouth when it comes to Trump, and then they speak out of the other side of the mouth when it comes to Al Jazeera. And I don't know why they are not calling that out, because you could scream about Mendamni and Linda Sarsour and all these other people all day long. But if you go straight to the source, which is Qatar, that's funding all of this, and you cut it off there, the entire thing will collapse.
Okay. Before you go on, I think you're raising a very good point, because it's a point I wanted to bring up before the show. And it's this playbook. Look, the playbook against Trump stopped working, right? The name calling, the this, the that, all those things stopped working. And just calling these people communist men or Islamic radicals isn't working. It's not going to work moving forward. We learned that in New York City a few days ago, that calling people these things has zero effect oftentimes. And you really have to get to the core of the issue. And the core of the issue here is, you're right, the Muslim Brotherhood is Qatar. And it's Qatar, and it's looking into what the hell is going on with that.
Yeah. So to our friends in the administration, to our POTUS, look into that. Please look into that. I know you listened to Scott Adams when he asked you for help. We're asking you for help in making this Mideast peace thing a reality. And the way to do that is directly through Qatar. They must change their ways. And if they stop funding all this anti-American, anti-West, anti-Israel, all that propaganda that they're pumping out, the thing would lose steam in a day. You have a couple of lunatics that are still in Pakistan pretending to be red pill media. It's a couple of them on Instagram or X that have really, right-wing names. Red pill media. His name is Abdul, and he lives in Pakistan, and he's pumping out supposed, MAGA talking points all day long. And you have a lot of fools who actually fall for it, and they listen to him.
No, but think about it like this: if you're getting along with somebody that you disagree with on 99.9% of things, and you agree on 0.1% on which is obviously usually Israel, you really got to check yourself. You got to check your motives. Listen, I was saying to somebody yesterday, I don't agree with everything Trump says, and I don't have to, and nor do I think he wants us to agree with everything. If you look at the people closest to him, whether it be Lindsey Graham or whoever it is, these are people that have disagreed with him. They're welcome in. Marco Rubio, who's the Secretary of State, was little Marco. Trump could handle criticism. There's nothing wrong with honest criticism, but when you honestly criticize what's so obvious, you become a pariah. You become, oh, don't tear apart MAGA, don't tear apart the conservative party. This is Matt Walsh's constant thing, right? Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire, constantly doing this, right? He constantly goes in and does whatever he wants, and then when he sees what's happening, he says Republicans and conservatives have to get together. Dude, you're part of the problem. Okay, you can't be like screaming fire and then say when the fire comes out saying, well, let's contain it now.
I haven't seen what Matt Walsh has been up to recently. I liked what he did with What Is a Woman with his
No,
movie,
no, I
and
thought that was, listen, there's no doubt he's exceptionally a talented human.
yeah,
But
he
my
did some great
point,
stuff there.
but my point is this idea of we all have to, get
Well,
together.
Tucker's going after Lindsey Graham now. He's trying to ensure
Of
that that guy does not
course,
get reelected.
of course, he's going after Lindsey Graham. And listen, whatever people want to say, you see, this. Here's the problem, man. Most people don't follow politics. So this is where I'll be the wonk on this. Okay. So I get it. Lindsey Graham is not the perfect senator. Who is? But he's also the reason Kavanaugh is a justice right now. He's when he went after the Democrats for the way they were going after Kavanaugh, and he gave that monumentally amazing speech. He got us as a Supreme Court seat. Everybody forgets Mitch McConnell didn't refuse to approve Merrick Garland, which got Trump an extra Supreme Court pick. So it's very, you have to look at people on the totality. And we all know why he's going after Lindsey Graham. Okay. He's going after Lindsey Graham because Lindsey Graham is a supporter of Israel. Okay. That's the numero uno reason why he's going after Lindsey Graham. Now, this doesn't mean that Lindsey Graham doesn't drive me up a wall. Okay. With some of his stuff. It doesn't mean that. I could disagree with Lindsey Graham, but Mend, I know why Tucker disagrees with Lindsey Graham. So let's be honest about it.
Tucker's become a one issue,
He's a one-trick pony.
one trick pony. It's all pro Qatar, anti Israel all day long. That's all he's doing. So it's pretty self evident what it's all about.
Yeah, no, but I want to challenge people, and I want to say to them, yeah, I get it. Lindsey Graham, Iraq War made some bad. What else is your issues with Lindsey Graham? I want to know when he is broken from party line. I want to know what your issue is with Lindsey Graham. Don't let Tucker tell you what your issue with Lindsey Graham is. Look it up for yourself, because I'm sure most people at this point, when you tar and feather somebody, forget that he's a huge reason why we got Kavanaugh. And I am not a Mitch McConnell fan. I've called him a rhino. I don't like George W. Bush. I refused to go to the Nixon Library and meet him when I had an invitation to go and do it when he was on his new art tour. I'm not kidding either. And I didn't want to do it. And I refused to do it. So I know why I knock people. If you're going to know why you're knocking people, know why and be honest about it. But this is dishonesty at its best. Don't give me this. It's funny because somebody on True said this guy E Turbo, who's a fantastic guy, and he was like, because I have a four post theory, right? When it comes to posting, it's by the fourth post, most people can't control their anger by the fourth post, right? So it starts off the conversation, man, where they're talking a little normally. And by the fourth post, it's like, you're a Zionist jackass. You know what I mean? Like they just can't control themselves by the fourth post. And, so I'm just saying to people, it's like, just because people have made bad votes or bad decisions, you look at the totality of what they've done. And I'm not trying to convince people to like Lindsey Graham. I'm not. But know why Tucker is not liking.
Yeah. All right. I think we've hashed this out. We know why Tucker's doing what Tucker's doing, why he's going. I mean, it's self-evident. It's the only thing he talks about these
Well,
days.
you brought it up, man.
All right.
You know what? I'll tell you something interesting, though, that somebody from Truth brought up. You know how you use the Al Jazeera test to see what's actually going on? New York right now, and I wish I would have thought of this, you'll see the Starbucks test, right? How many Starbucks start moving out of the area, start moving out of New York City under Mamdani? That'll be the actual test to see how well New York goes. It goes by Starbucks, man.
Yeah. So we're going to see how many Starbucks leave New York?
Yeah, because they tend to leave dangerous neighborhoods quite quickly. And that was his point, and I thought it was actually a very good point. But listen, here's the reality that people are going to have to face right now. You have Mamdani for 4 years. Calling him a communist every day is not going to work. Calling him a socialist every day is not going to work. We have to figure out what we're going to do when the next Mamdani comes. But but going the route of the name calling simply will not work. We have to beat these people on content and on facts. And that's just my humble opinion.
No, I agree with that. I think just hashing it out over and over and over again, we don't like Tucker, we don't like this one, that one, it's not going to do anything. The best way to counter it is with facts. So just by disseminating and sharing truth, that's how we will win.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you 100%. Anything else, man? I know you want to get your haircut going.
That is happening.
Your bi-weekly your
There's another
bi-monthly
win
hair.
for Trump. Kazakhstan, the place that Borat made famous, has agreed to join the Abraham Accords. So there's another country joining peace in the Middle East. It's a Muslim country, so this is significant. It's great. And I would love to see the rest of the countries that are on the side of sanity join this, namely Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia joined the Abraham Accords, the Iranian,
That
Qatar
would be a
backed
massive game changer. That would
game
absolutely be
changer.
a massive game changer. Explain why.
Well, there's two major powerful forces in the Middle East. It was really three, but two. The two major ones is Saudi Arabia, which represents Sunni Islam, and Iran, which represents Shia Islam, and they hate each other. And then they have a whole bunch of proxies, like the Houthis in Yemen are backed by the Shias in Iran. The Yemen government in exile, the democratically elected government, is backed by Saudi Arabia. So you have this over and over again where these groups, like Hezbollah is a Shia militia backed by Iran. For the most part, all of the chaos being created right now in the Middle East is backed by Iran. And if you had Saudi Arabia join forces with the Israelis and UAE and Kazakhstan and some of the other countries that have signed on to this, you'll have a major counterweight to any threats coming out of Iran, because now these countries would be tied economically together. And if they could do something on a NATO style front, that would even be better. And that's what Trump should be doing is instead of just doing US security guarantees for Qatar, he should force them to the table to become allies with Israel and let the Israelis and Qatar and Saudi Arabia and all of those countries defend themselves. We shouldn't have to defend them. I don't want American troops getting involved in any of that stuff. We could sell them weapons, sell the weapons to the good guys to bomb the bad guys, but we should not be involved. So that's why it's important.
Okay, well said. And the last thing I want to get to is because this is an extremely disturbing trend that's going on, which is so Maccabi Tel Aviv, which is it could either be Israel's basketball, one of their basketball teams, or their soccer team. They have a game against Aston Villa in Birmingham, which is in the UK, and their fans are not allowed in.
Yeah, it's the UK is
I mean,
just
think about that for a second. I want people to digest that for a second. They are not allowing Israeli fans into a soccer game because they can't protect them. This is what's going on. This is what happens. This is a sickness, man. And this is going on a lot over Europe where they're banning Jews. Let's be honest, it's called selexia. It's called selection, which is one of the dirtiest words for Jews because it evokes the Holocaust. You are doing selexia in Birmingham right now by not allowing Jews to go to soccer games. The players could play, but you can't have fans. That is sick.
yeah. So what we're seeing in Europe is they are taking the side of the jihadis against, freedom and liberty. So instead of defending and saying this is unacceptable, these people that are coming to watch the game and they're fans of this team, they should be allowed. What they're doing is they're saying these people that want to cause havoc and be hooligans and beat up, people that go to watch a game, they're given the right of way. And you, if you're, there to celebrate the game, you should stay home because we don't know if we could protect you from the gangs, the grooming rape gangs that are going to be out there protesting against you. So it's just more caving. They're caving. They're weak. We talk about weak leadership. This is weak leadership.
I'm going to take this a step further, man. It's like, getting back to the new media, They do not discuss this. And that has to be telling to people of why they're not discussing this. Why are you not discussing the grooming gangs going on in those certain places? Why are you not discussing the people Mamdani is associated with? Why are you not discussing these things? Because it's there's only one reason why you would not discuss these things, man, and that's because you're being you're bought and paid for, and it's absolutely disgusting what we're witnessing around the world. And it's I got to tell people in America, it's coming here very soon.
Yeah, we're seeing it being ushered in New York. New York is just it's become a magnet for the crazies, the keffiyeh wearing lunatics. That New York is now their home. So we are seeing it coming here. On a different note, regarding the government shutdown, which the Democrats are causing by refusing to sign a continuing resolution to keep the government open with funding that they did before the shutdown, Senator Kennedy has introduced a bill to withhold pay from lawmakers during government shutdown. And I think that is a great idea. Lawmakers should not be paid as long as the rank and file employees of the government are not being paid. Hurt everybody. Not that it's going to hurt most of these lawmakers because they make so much
No, no.
money
You
off of
see, I was
illegal
about
stock
to.
trading.
I was about to say something about that. First of all, Nancy Pelosi retiring, but I was about to say it will hurt a lot of them because a lot of them aren't yet in the grift. Okay. So it will hurt a lot of the first term, second term, term congressmen that haven't figured out the way to make their millions yet. So yes, I think if you listen to Kennedy from Louisiana, I believe he's the funny guy, right? He's the one with always with the hysterical lines.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's the other one I can't stand from Louisiana, Cassidy. But it's Kennedy that always has the funny lines. But yes, 100%. If you impose this on the House, man,
Great.
there's a good. It's a
They
great
should be
idea.
doing it. They should be doing it. In other news, the president of Syria, who's a former ISIS guy, and there's pictures of him with the heads that he chopped off of I assume they were Christians, but maybe not. He's coming to Washington to meet with Trump. Trump thinks that somehow this guy is the key to peace in Syria. I hope Trump is right. Ahmed al Shara, also known as al Jolani, the United Nations just lifted sanctions on Syria, and U.S. is pushing to do the same here. So it looks like he's trying to coerce Syria to the right side by promising them economic prosperity if they stop slaughtering all of their minorities. Now, the problem with that is that his people have been doing it since he got into office. So there was a 13-year civil war in Syria where everybody was being slaughtered by the government. The government was just dropping barrel bombs on people's neighborhoods. It's nuts. You'd see a helicopter with ammonia,
Mustard gas. I mean,
ammonia-filled bombs.
with mustard gas, with chemical weapons.
I don't know if he was using mustard gas. He was using, we do know that they used ammonia and they dropped that on neighborhoods and people would suffocate. Children, it was horrific what we saw coming out of there. But now the problem with Syria is that it's not just Syrians that are making up this new government. You have jihadi fighters from across the world. There's a lot of Chechens. There's a lot of Uyghurs. The people that are in the concentration camps in China, a lot of them escaped. And instead of just going to find a prosperous life somewhere, they all joined up with these Muslim kill gangs like ISIS. And now they are in the government and running the military forces in Syria. So I'm not sure how you get them to become moderate and accepting of people of other faiths when they've been chopping off anyone who doesn't agree with their insane version of Islam for the last 13.
But I think as we end this show, I think it's also important to note that we put Assad in. Right? I mean, so we missed the mark on him. We have to trust that Trump has a far better gauge than Obama did. But yeah, they have used chemical weapons. There's been proven actually that Assad used chemical weapons on his own people. That's why Trump sent the Moab in there, I think that's where he sent the Moab and the mother of all bombs because they were actually doing this. So, listen, it's who knows? I mean, but it's important, you're right, to put in perspective of who this person actually is. I mean, this is a stone cold killer, and it gets lost sometimes in the shuffle because of the way Trump speaks. Because the way Trump speaks is like a business person. He's when he says my best friend, he's not referring to the person as your best friend. But I want people to understand how evil this person is, the crimes of his past. This guy has. I mean, you're talking about a murderer and a stone cold mass murderer, man. So let's not forget that. That's who we're trying to broker a deal with. This is the region right now of what we're trying to do. So I'm actually really glad you brought that up. I'm glad we didn't solely focus today on politics. We discussed health a little bit, which I
We
think
got
is
two more
extreme.
things though before we jump off.
You're
One
the
was
one
there
that
was this.
wanted to go early,
Yeah, we're
and
gonna
now
go
you're
early, but just quickly, there was a teacher that was shot by a 6-year-old. I think it was a year ago. Her name was Abigail Zwiener, I think.
and she's suing for she got a right a reward, or not a
Yeah,
reward. Yeah.
because they knew that this kid had a gun in this. I think a 6-year-old had a gun in his backpack, and the principal refused to do anything about it because they didn't want to be accused of like racially profiling a little black kid that had a gun in his backpack that wound up shooting his teacher. And the teacher sued, and she was just awarded $10 million. And talking about money, Elon Musk was just approved for his new shareholder pay package, where he's going to get paid $1 trillion if the company Tesla meets certain thresholds. And I think it's going to be a tough threshold to hit, but don't put it past him.
1 second, I'm a little confused about this, so you could help me out. I thought it was a payout of $1 trillion and that was him leaving the company.
No, no, leading. He has to lead the company. The reason why Tesla is going to be so valuable is because they are producing the Optimus Prime robots, and they're going to make it to the point where factory workers are just going to be replaced by these robots. Your home, your cleaning lady is going to be replaced by a robot. The dog walker is going to be replaced by a robot. Walking the kids to school, you name it. These things are going to be, and he's mass producing them, and they are really, really good. I threw a ton of money into Tesla. I think everybody should. It's going to make a ridiculous amount of money.
Okay, say it with a caveat. Don't just say throw a bunch of money
Yeah,
into something.
past
Say,
performance is not indicative of future performance. We don't endorse or do anything. This is strictly non-financial advice. We're only giving it to you as our opinions. Our opinions don't matter. We don't know what the hell we're talking about. We're just two idiot podcasters on this thing. But if you have a couple of dollars, drop it in.
but it's interesting you brought that up because Sam Altman, his arch enemy, and it's funny. I don't remember like it was. I don't know if you watched that show Sherlock, but there was a great first scene where he was talking about do people still have arch enemies. It was like a line in it, and like Sam Altman, who is Elon Musk's arch enemy, was on a podcast, and he got questioned by somebody who was on his side about how much they're spending and not making with ChatGPT, and he could not handle the question, and he went off on the person. This is like it's very interesting times. This AI race. This AI race is and Nvidia came out today and said China's going to win the AI race. So it's. Can you believe we're talking about this stuff?
I
This
know.
is like.
We're going to wrap up right now, and then I got to run. But the main thing about
Thank you for telling us. We're going to wrap up. Yes, sir. The
Sam
mustache.
Altman's beef with Elon Musk was Elon Musk funded OpenAI. OpenAI was supposed to be free and open source. Later on, and Elon Musk is the one who named the company and he funded the company, and it was supposed to be a free service for the universe for humankind. And then Sam Altman decided to make a for-profit version of OpenAI, which is what we're all using today. And then they kept a jank version of OpenAI and they said, no, that's the free one that Elon did. This one that we cloned and made much, much better that we're charging for, that's not Elon's. And this is going to go to court. And Elon is probably going to walk away with half of that company. So you talk about another $500 billion that Elon's going to get when they award him half of OpenAI. I don't see how he's going to lose this case. He funded the company. He named the company. In their charter, it talked about it being a open source and free tool for the world. They used Elon's money to create the company, and now it's worth billions, if not trillions of dollars. And it's going to go to court. And I think Elon's going to come out on top of this one.
Well, thank you for your financial acumen. It's greatly appreciated. Want to thank everybody that's been listening and following and all of that jazz. The mustache seems to be giving you an extraordinary power and a feeling of uh, like it's your cape. And be careful. Please don't do anything stupid thinking you have a superhuman power because you have now grown a mustache. And thank you, everybody that's been following and downloading and listening to the show. You can find us everywhere at thedailycheatsheet.com. That's thedailycheatsheet.com. We hope we brought a little levity to people today because I know people are freaking out about what's going on. People are really confused about what's going on. Reality is life will go on. Mamdani will be there for 4 years. Complaining about it is not going to be the answer to it.
No, no.
Figuring out ways that we prevent future Mamdanis is the way. And that's the really big job of the Department of Justice to really start investigating these organizations like obviously Soros, CARE, all these organizations. So follow us at thedailycheatsheet.com. I want to wish everybody a good morning, afternoon, and night world, wherever you are. God bless you all.